Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison. Invisible Man follows the unnamed protagonist, an African-American man, as he navigates life in a racially oppressive society. The novel is a journey of self-discovery and explores the protagonist's invisibility, his literal and figurative sense of being unseen and misunderstood by society. Starting in the South, where the protagonist is expelled from a black college for a mistake, he moves to Harlem in New York City, where he gets involved with a political group known as the Brotherhood. Through various betrayals and disillusionments, he confronts racism, identity, and individuality. The novel explores themes of race, power, and the quest for personal and social visibility in a world that constantly denies the protagonist's humanity. Let's deep dive into the book. The Battle Royal and Early Disillusionment. The novel begins with the protagonist recounting a humiliating experience from his youth known as the Battle Royal, in which he and other black boys are forced to fight each other blindfolded for the entertainment of wealthy white men. After the brutal fight, he is allowed to deliver a speech about humility and progress, which earns him a scholarship to a prestigious black college. However, this early success is tainted by the degrading nature of the experience, as he begins to understand that his success is conditional on pleasing the white power structure. This event sets the stage for the protagonist's journey of self-discovery, as he begins to confront the systemic racism that defines his existence. Expulsion from college and betrayal. After enrolling in college, the protagonist is given the responsibility of driving Mr. Norton, a white trustee, around the campus and nearby town. During their trip, they encounter Jim Trueblood, a black man who has impregnated his own daughter, and a nearby bar filled with rowdy black veterans. The shocking revelations of the visit unsettle Mr. Norton, and Dr. Bledsoe, the black college president, blames the protagonist for exposing the trustee to this darker side of black life. Despite the protagonist's loyalty to the institution, Dr. Bledsoe expels him, teaching him a harsh lesson that success in the world requires manipulating white people. This betrayal shakes the protagonist's faith in the ideals of progress and education that he once believed in. Life in Harlem and the Brotherhood. After moving to Harlem, the protagonist struggles to find work and a sense of purpose. He eventually joins the Brotherhood, a political organization that claims to fight for racial and social equality. The Brotherhood gives him a platform to speak out about the oppression of African Americans, and he begins to gain recognition as a leader within the organization. However, over time, he realizes that the Brotherhood is more interested in using him as a token figure for their own agenda rather than truly empowering black people. The organization's manipulation and hypocrisy mirror the protagonist's earlier experiences of betrayal, leading him to question the possibility of real progress within oppressive systems. The Riot and Disillusionment. As tensions rise in Harlem, the Brotherhood shifts its focus away from the community's needs, leading to widespread anger and unrest. The protagonist witnesses the growing discontent and feels the Brotherhood's abandonment of the very people they claim to help. This culminates in a race riot, during which the protagonist realizes that he has been a pawn in the Brotherhood's power games all along. His disillusionment with the organization and its empty promises is complete, and he begins to reject not only the Brotherhood's ideology, but all external forces that try to define his identity. The chaos of the riot reflects the larger societal breakdown and the protagonist's inner turmoil. The encounter with Raz the Exhorter. Throughout his time in Harlem, the protagonist encounters Raz the Exhorter, a radical black nationalist who opposes the Brotherhood's more moderate, integrationist approach. Raz preaches violent resistance against white oppression and challenges the protagonist's belief in the possibility of working within the system to achieve racial equality. As the novel progresses, Raz becomes increasingly aggressive, representing a form of resistance that the protagonist finds both compelling and dangerous. Their final confrontation during the Harlem riot symbolizes the protagonist's struggle between different modes of black resistance and his own growing desire for individual autonomy, free from external ideologies. The symbol of invisibility. As the protagonist reflects on his experiences, he realizes that his life has been defined by invisibility, his inability to be seen for who he truly is by both white society and the various black organizations that sought to use him for their own purposes. He comes to understand that this invisibility is not just a result of racial prejudice, but also a reflection of his own lack of self-identity. The protagonist's final realization is that he must reject the roles imposed on him by others and embrace his invisibility as a form of empowerment. He retreats underground, literally living in a basement filled with light bulbs, where he contemplates his experiences and prepares to emerge with a new sense of self. The role of identity and race. Throughout Invisible Man, the protagonist's struggle to define his identity is central to the novel's exploration of race in America. He is constantly forced to adopt different personas to fit the expectations of those around him, whether it's the white men who see him as a tool for entertainment, or the Brotherhood, which views him as a symbol of racial progress. The novel examines how black individuals are often denied true visibility and agency, as their identities are shaped by the prejudices and agendas of others. In rejecting these external definitions, the protagonist's journey becomes one of reclaiming his individuality and asserting his humanity in a society that seeks to erase it. Power and exploitation. The novel also delves into the dynamics of power and exploitation, particularly how race, class, and ideology intersect to control individuals. The protagonist's experiences with the college, the Brotherhood, and the white men in power all reveal how institutions manipulate people to maintain control. Whether through the college's superficial commitment to black advancement or the Brotherhood's empty rhetoric of equality, the protagonist realizes that those in power are primarily concerned with maintaining their own status. The novel critiques the ways in which both black and white institutions can exploit individuals under the guise of progress or equality. Isolation and alienation. As the protagonist's journey unfolds, he experiences increasing isolation and alienation from those around him. His invisibility becomes a metaphor for the emotional and psychological distance he feels from a society that refuses to see him as a whole person. This sense of alienation intensifies as he is repeatedly betrayed by those he trusts, leading him to question not only the institutions he once believed in, but also his own understanding of the world. By the novel's end, the protagonist's isolation becomes a form of liberation as he chooses to retreat from the world to redefine himself on his own terms. Let's meet together the main characters of the book. The unnamed narrator, often referred to as the Invisible Man, is the protagonist of the novel. He is a young, idealistic African-American man who embarks on a journey of self-discovery and becomes increasingly disillusioned with the world around him. Throughout the novel, he struggles to define his identity in a society that refuses to see him as a full person. As he encounters various forms of racism, manipulation, and betrayal, the narrator begins to understand the extent to which he has been rendered invisible by both white society and black leaders. By the end of the novel, he embraces his invisibility as a form of freedom and self-definition. Dr. Bledsoe is the president of the black college the narrator attends. While initially appearing to be a respected and admired leader, Dr. Bledsoe is revealed to be manipulative and self-serving. He prioritizes maintaining his power and position with the white trustees over the well-being of the students. When the narrator unintentionally embarrasses a white trustee, Bledsoe expels him, teaching him that power is more important than integrity. Bledsoe's betrayal represents the novel's critique of black leaders who compromise their values for personal advancement within a racist system. The Brotherhood is a political organization that the narrator joins after moving to Harlem. It claims to fight for racial and social equality, but the group ultimately uses the narrator for its own purposes. The Brotherhood is symbolic of political organizations that exploit individuals for their own agendas, and its leaders are depicted as more interested in maintaining power than genuinely helping the marginalized communities they claim to support. The narrator's disillusionment with the Brotherhood reflects the novel's broader themes of betrayal, manipulation, and the dangers of blindly following ideologies. Raz the Exhorter is a militant black nationalist who opposes the Brotherhood's integrationist approach and advocates for violent resistance against white oppression. He is a powerful orator and charismatic leader who gains followers in Harlem. Raz represents a more radical form of black resistance, one that rejects compromise and assimilation. Throughout the novel, he challenges the narrator's beliefs, presenting an alternative path of resistance. Race's confrontations with the narrator highlight the novel's exploration of different strategies for black empowerment and the protagonist's struggle to find his own voice in the midst of competing ideologies. Todd Clifton is a charismatic young black man who works with the narrator in the Brotherhood. Initially a committed and passionate leader, Clifton eventually becomes disillusioned with the organization and abandons his role. He is later found selling degrading Sambo dolls on the street, a symbol of racial stereotypes. Clifton's tragic death at the hands of the police becomes a turning point in the novel as the narrator witnesses the futility of political activism in the face of systemic racism. Clifton's disillusionment and death underscore the novel's critique of the Brotherhood and its failure to address the deeper issues of racial oppression. Let's explore together the main themes and concepts of the book. The search for identity. The search for personal identity is the central theme of Invisible Man. Throughout the novel, the protagonist grapples with defining who he is in a society that imposes limiting and dehumanizing labels on him based on race. His experiences with different social and political organizations, such as the College, the Brotherhood, and Raz the Exhorter, highlight the difficulty of forging an authentic identity when one is constantly being categorized and used by others. Ultimately, the protagonist's journey is one of self-discovery, as he rejects the expectations placed on him and embraces his invisibility as a form of empowerment, symbolizing his decision to define himself on his own terms. Racism and oppression. Racism and systemic oppression are key themes in Invisible Man, as the novel illustrates the various ways black people are marginalized and exploited by both white society and black organizations. From the humiliating battle royal to the manipulation by the Brotherhood, the protagonist's experiences reveal the pervasive nature of racism and how it shapes every aspect of life. The novel critiques both overt racism, as represented by the white men who control and humiliate the protagonist, and the more subtle forms of oppression that come from black leaders who compromise their values for power or progress within the system. Betrayal and disillusionment. The protagonist's journey is marked by a series of betrayals that deepen his sense of disillusionment. Dr. Bledsoe, the college president, betrays him by prioritizing his own standing with white benefactors over the protagonist's future. The Brotherhood, which initially appears to offer him a platform for activism and leadership, ultimately uses him for its own purposes and discards him when he no longer serves their agenda. These betrayals force the protagonist to confront the harsh realities of power and manipulation, leading him to reject external authorities and seek self-determination. His disillusionment reflects the broader themes of lost faith in institutions that claim to support progress but are ultimately self-serving. Visibility and invisibility. The concept of visibility and invisibility is central to the novel. The protagonist feels invisible because society refuses to acknowledge his humanity or see him for who he truly is. This invisibility is both a literal and metaphorical condition. He is unseen in a society that defines him solely by his race, and he is also hidden behind the various personas he adopts throughout the novel. The protagonist's invisibility becomes a symbol of the broader experiences of African Americans, whose identities are erased or distorted by racial stereotypes and societal expectations. By the end of the novel, the protagonist's acceptance of his invisibility allows him to reclaim his agency and autonomy. The power of speech and silence. Speech and silence play a significant role in the protagonist's journey. Early in the novel, he delivers speeches that conform to the expectations of those around him, such as the speech he gives at the Battle Royal and his orations for the Brotherhood. However, these speeches are hollow because they are not truly his own. They are shaped by what others want to hear. As the protagonist grows disillusioned, he becomes more selective about when and how he speaks. His retreat into invisibility at the novel's end represents a rejection of the false, imposed narratives of his life, as he chooses silence over conformity. The novel suggests that speech can be a powerful tool for self-expression, but also a means of manipulation when controlled by others. Let's talk about the author. Ralph Ellison, born in 1914 in Oklahoma City, was an American novelist, essayist, and literary critic, best known for his novel Invisible Man, which won the National Book Award in 1953. Ellison's work explores themes of identity, race, and individuality in a racially segregated America. He drew on his experiences growing up in the South and his time in Harlem to craft a novel that critiques both white society and Black political movements. Ellison was influenced by modernist writers like T.S. Eliot and James Joyce, and his writing blends social commentary with philosophical reflection. Ellison's literary legacy continues to influence discussions about race, power, and identity in American literature. Sincere thanks for watching. If you found this summary helpful, consider taking a moment to hit the subscribe button, like or share the video. If you have any feedbacks or book requests, make sure to leave a comment. Regardless, I wish you a great day.